All right. Hey, friends. I'm so glad you're back. It is our weekly essential astrology report here on Facebook and Instagram. And we are talking Mercury retrograde today, Uranus and Taurus. Hi, Jess. We're talking lots of stuff. Being in the muck. That is the theme of this week. We are all in the mud, sorting it out, planting the seeds, getting everything going. It's fertile time. It's a fertile time. I don't know why I said that word weird, but it's a fertile time, but it is also a time that feels a little bit dark and a little like uncertain, a little foggy. Foggy is a good word for it. So let's start with where the sun is, because the sun is the light. The sun is our identity. It's our ego. It's our life force, our prana, if you're a yogi. So the sun is conjunct or moving toward a perfect conjunction with Neptune, and that can make us all feel a little bit foggy, a little bit in the dream world, a little bit in that meditative state, a little bit like we're in an alternate reality and we're not sure if we're moving forward or backward or side to side, or like what time of day it is, like that just general haze. The sun and Neptune coming together can make us feel that way, but it also can make us incredibly intuitive and tuned in. So instead of forcing yourself to push through that feeling, instead of feeling like you're not in your clear state of mind to get stuff done, I want you to embrace the fogginess, embrace the haze, and allow that to help you tune in to the messages, the signs, the feelings, the emotions, the things that you wouldn't necessarily notice, because the sun coming conjunct with Neptune is going to help us tune into a different wavelength, a different channel, a radio station that we're not normally tuned into. So, of course, this conjunction happens every year, but I want to make sure that we are using it to our advantage. So the sun is in Pisces. Neptune is in its home sign of Pisces, and that's why they are meeting, of course. And if you're a Pisces baby, happy birthday. I had a birthday that I went to this weekend. And you know, I love Pisces people because I'm a March birthday, even though I'm an Aries. So we share this month. And I think that Pisces going into Aries is such an incredible time of year. Now, historically, before the calendar that we now use, for most of time that man has been using calendars and documenting time, January was actually not the beginning of the year. It was the spring equinox, so March 21st. So March is a really interesting month of the year because it really is, for us in the astrology world, or for anyone who studies those ancient cultures that used a different calendar, the astrological calendar that we use, it is the ending and the beginning. So Pisces ushers in the end. Pisces is all about, it rules the 12th house in the zodiac. It is the end of something. When something is transiting your 12th house, there's something wrapping up, there's something being completed. And so for a lot of us, this is a time of finishing up. You know, interestingly enough, today is the first day of many days that the North Node is opposing Pluto, which says to me the past is here right now and we're having to deal with it. So there may be things that are coming up from the past that are making you feel like you're in the muck, and all of those things are coming up to the surface so that we can actually you know, sort through it and move past and go forward, because we are at the end of things. We are in this Pisces time, and you know, Pisces rules sleep. So a lot of the things that were underneath the surface are now coming up, maybe in your dreams. Maybe they're coming up in your meditation. Maybe they're coming up when you are in a state of creative self-expression. So that could be, hey Tara, that could be for you running. You know, creative self-expression doesn't mean that you draw or that you paint or that you play the piano. I mean, your creative self-expression could be knitting. It could be writing. It could be, you know, taking photography and posting it on Instagram. It could be the feeling you get when you put together a really great workout or get on your mat and guide yourself in a home yoga practice. You know, there are a lot of ways that our creativity can be expressed and manifested in this plane. And so don't get stuck on, oh, I'm not a creative person. I find that a lot when I am doing astrological natal chart readings for people. I'll say, oh, you're really creative. And they will say, oh, no, I'm not. I don't paint and I don't draw and I don't play music or any of those things. Creativity comes in lots of forms, and we need to really give ourselves the space to be in the flow to allow our creativity to come up. So that leads me to the theme for this month, or the next few weeks at least, before we get into the spring equinox, which is go with the flow. Pisces is the ultimate expression of water. It's two fish swimming in opposite directions. One is going up toward the heavens. One is coming down here to the manifest earth plane. And this is an opportunity for you to go with that flow and allow it to take you, allow the universe to drive the boat. So we often feel like, you know, I study A Course in Miracles, and a lot of the time we think that's a really cool idea that we're not driving the boat, and we like to hear Marianne Williamson talk about that, and we like to read it. But then when like shit hits the fan in real life, we're like, oh, I'm not leaving it up to God. I'm taking care of this. So this is a few weeks where you really need to practice leaving it up to the God of your own understanding, the universe, the cosmos, whatever it is, because our mental faculties are going to be confused, because tomorrow good old Mercury retrograde comes to town. So Mercury is in its station. It's been in its station for a few days. Now, I have been feeling this Mercury retrograde for a couple of weeks already. I would love to know if you have. Feel free to drop in the comments. And I have been just noticing that this Mercury retrograde is really coming in pretty hard. I think because it's Mercury retrograde in Pisces, so that brings a lot more confusion. It has already touched Neptune and will go back to, it will dance backward until it comes to Neptune, and it will conjunct with Neptune again and then dance forward. And so Mercury is going to be retrograde from tomorrow, which is Tuesday, March 5th, until Thursday, March 28th in the morning. So you want to make sure that you know, your computer is backed up, and you've double checked that thing in your calendar. And if someone makes an appointment with you, you check the calendar, you check it again. You know, give yourself extra time if you have to go somewhere. If you are going to an airport, give yourself extra time. Make sure that you check to see if the flight is delayed before you leave. Just be open to being in the flow and finding the humor in it, because what happens with Mercury retrograde and why people find it stressful is because it slows things down in the communication realm. And so much of our lives are dependent upon communication now, because we do work with people that are, you know, across the world via technology, and we a lot of us communicate for a living because we do Facebook Lives or Instagram Lives, or we're on YouTube, or we're teaching online, or whatever it is. So really be mindful with your words in real life, but also be mindful with any communication that you're sending out through the internet. And, you know, this is a time of year when, or rather, Mercury retrograde happens usually 3 or 4 times a year. And so it's a time where your email might get stuck in the draft folder, or someone sends you an email and it gets stuck in spam. These are all Mercury retrograde-ish things, so be on the lookout for them, and just try to muster a little extra patience. Try to take a few extra deep breaths. Try to give yourself extra time when the pressure is on to go somewhere or get somewhere. When it comes to computer stuff, give yourself extra time there. I actually had the internet go completely out last, I think it was Wednesday night, and I was like, oh God, this Mercury is really coming in. It's coming in strong. So, you know, these things are nuisances. They're not big deals, but they can feel like a big deal if we lose our patience, is really what I'm saying. So give yourself the opportunity, give yourself extra time and time to go with the flow. Okay, so the sun is conjunct Neptune. That's putting us in that place of being tuned in. Mercury is going retrograde in Pisces as well. So we've got 3 planets in Pisces right now. We've got the Sun, Neptune, and Mercury. We talked about this last week. That's a lot of water, okay? So we really want to give ourselves the opportunity to go with the tide for the next few weeks. The other prominent energy in the chart right now is Earth, and we talked about that last week as well. So Mars is in Taurus. Mars is also in a trine to Saturn and Capricorn. So right now we've got a lot of Capricorn energy. We're working with that the whole year. I say that every week. I can't say that enough. This is the time for building something new in your life. This is what this year is about. It's about building, okay? It's about building that foundation so that you can grow upon it in the coming years. So you've got Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn. They are pretty close together. They're roommates right now. And they're leading up to that big conjunction in January of 2020. So Mars is now in a trine with Saturn in Capricorn. And what does that mean? Well, that means that Mars is our drive, our ambition, our ability to get up and make it happen and get it done. It's the masculine energy of the chart. Mars in Taurus is a little bit stubborn. It's definitely really ambitious, and it is very capable of manifesting on this earth plane. Saturn in Capricorn is like the ultimate disciplinarian, boundary keeper, rule keeper, do it by the books, gives you the hard lesson that you're happy you learned, but it's not fun to go through it, right? So with these two together, what that says to me is that you have the endurance to make this thing happen. So whatever you're focusing on right now, and I said this back in November, December, January, February, what you know what you're working on now. So you went through the soul searching back in the fall, back through 2018. It is now 2019. You have chosen what you are working on, what you are focusing on in your life, whether that's career, family, relationship, whatever it is. The thing that you are choosing to build right now, you have the endurance to take this the long haul. And Mars trining Saturn is saying like, hey, like this is the real deal. We're building this for this is a long game that we're building for. And anything that slows you down with these two planets in these earth signs trining each other is to your benefit. So the main takeaway of today is go with the flow, right? But the other takeaway is trust that the slowdown is for your benefit. Trust that the roadblocks that do come up are for your benefit. Trust that the little nuisances are for your benefit. They're teaching you something that's going to illuminate something or make you stronger in some way that will benefit you for the long game, okay? Those are the main things. The other thing is, what do earth and water make? Earth and water make mud. And what is mud? Mud is fertile. It's the soil that grows the plants. It grows the harvest. We are moving into spring and things will start to bloom, right? So at least in the Northern Hemisphere. So you want to think about this time as like, we were going like 90 miles per hour in February. It was going really, really fast. We had no planets in retrograde January and February. And then it was like, now we've got the big slowdown, like you're pushing on that brake. And it doesn't mean that we're not still moving forward. We're just not going at the same speed that we were. And that's okay, because it gives you the opportunity to look around and see what's happening. It gives you the opportunity to say, oh, look, that's so nice and that's so great. And I really appreciate that. And I could actually, I could clean this up a bit, and I could make this a little bit better, and I could, tweak that thing so that it's a little bit easier for me, that routine or whatever the thing is, right? So these are all things that you can be doing with Mercury retrograde. I do suggest think about things in your life that you could be returning to, revising, reviewing, I'm trying to think of rewords. All the rewords are ruled by retrograde. So for me personally, I'll give you a personal example from my life. I've been dying to redo parts of my website, or a lot of it. And so I haven't had time to do that. And I've been really focusing on other activities. And I decided, I was like, this is going to be a great time. Like, Mercury retrograde is going to be an awesome time for me to sit down and review what I want to be saying to the people that land on my website. Okay. So think about those things that you could be focusing on that maybe aren't brand new projects, but are projects that you want to revisit and make better. This is a great time for that, especially with Mercury and Pisces. You know, from a less practical level, from a more emotional level, this is a time of deep emotion, right? So anything that you want to bring a little bit more of yourself and a little bit more of your soul to, this is a great time to look at again. I do think that there are lessons and things from the past that are going to crop up in the next few weeks that are going to help illuminate your way forward, because Mercury always brings up the truth. Mercury is the communicator, it's our mental faculties, it's the mind, but it always makes us come back to the thing and look at it again, to see the parts that we may have missed or to see the parts that we have chosen to not see. Okay, so I want you to consider that as you move through these next 3 weeks as well. All right. One of the best things you can do with all of this Pisces energy is just immerse yourself in anything that feels like it gets you into that flow state. So that, again, doesn't have to be an artistic thing. It could be swimming, it could be dancing, it could be, you know, if you love, like I love infrared sauna, places like that, going anywhere that gets you in that flow state, the spa, a massage, anything that gets you in that dreamy state, not in the conscious, like, let me check things off my to-do list state, but in the dream state, you know. And you'll notice that when you put yourself in that flow state of the mind, like, the ideas will come forth, the creativity will come forth. Sometimes scheduling time to not do something is actually when you have the most genius come through. So this week, the big news is we've got a new moon, of course, but that's not the big news. The big news is that on Wednesday, we've got Uranus moving into Taurus to stay. So Uranus did dance into Taurus a while back, and then stayed for a very short time, and then went back to Aries, and is now completing its stay in Aries, which we in our lifetimes will not see Uranus in Aries again. So this is a pretty cool time. When Uranus changes signs, it's a pretty big deal. So Uranus is going to be moving into Taurus on Wednesday, which is the same day as the new moon. So Uranus moves into Taurus at 3:35 a.m. on the East Coast, and then the new moon occurs at 11:04 a.m. in Pisces. This will be a very big day. It's also Ash Wednesday, if you happen to be Catholic. So it's interesting because it's also the day that conjunction between the Sun and Neptune is exact. So I think Wednesday is going to be a big day. If you can keep your Wednesday light and allow yourself to find some solo time and really breathe into whatever you're feeling, I recommend it. Interestingly enough, the moon is going to conjunct Mercury retrograde on Thursday. So I think that if you're not already feeling this Mercury retrograde, you're going to really feel it on Thursday, and you might feel a little bit agitated because Uranus is a little bit of an agitated planet, you know. Uranus is a rebel. Uranus wants freedom. Uranus is interested in shaking things up. Last time Uranus went into Taurus, we literally saw the earth explode. We had several volcanoes that were erupting. It was literally like the earth exploding from the inside. Don't be surprised if we see some big Mother Nature explosions of sorts on Wednesday and the rest of this week and going forward for a while. I also think that those things happen because Uranus went into Taurus for the first time in over 80 years. So it was like a big shock. And this time might not be as shocking because we already visited a few months ago and now we're coming back for real. So I think that what's interesting about Uranus and Taurus, from a society place, is that we are all going to become more and more conscious of the climate, of the earth, of the climate crisis that's happening. And personally, I'm very passionate about this topic. And I feel that this is going to be the real come to Jesus moment where we have to get our shit together. And if you are a person that is not doing all the things you can, this is going to be the time where you're really going to start to see that message come through. And the people that don't believe will start to believe because we're starting to see it. It was in the front page of the New York Times. There was an article this weekend, Sunday, and it was basically like people are starting to see the climate crisis, so they're actually believing it, and we are going to see it more and more and more over the next several years. Unfortunately, you didn't need astrology to tell you that, but the astrology matches up with that. So the crisis is really getting heated, no pun intended. And I think that this Uranus and Taurus is going to make us take action. Taurus is really into manifesting on the material plane. Taurus is, Venus in Taurus rules our money. Venus in Taurus is interested in security and stability. So I am very hopeful this Uranus and Taurus is going to bring us to a place of stability in whatever our efforts are to curtail this change in the environment. You know, Venus in Taurus also rules money. So I think we're going to see a lot of things that go on with the financial markets. I definitely recommend being safe and saving and all of those things that myself as an Aries, an impulsive Aries, is not good at. This is a great time if you're an impulsive Aries, if you're a fire sign, to definitely take a few notes from our earthbound friends, our Taurus friends, okay? So that's another thing Uranus and Taurus could bring up. A friend on the phone today was saying to me that she's worried about Uranus and Taurus because it's going to be in one of her money houses. And for those of you that aren't as familiar with the houses, the second house and the eighth house are your money houses in astrology. So look at those money houses, see what's going on, see where Taurus lands in your chart, and see where Uranus is going to be creating a liberation for you. Because I think one of the greatest things about Uranus is that it liberates the part of the chart where it is transiting. So really look at where that Taurus lands for you and see where you're going to be experiencing freedom in these next years. And then the last thing for this week that I wanted to share with you is the moon is going to be void, of course, almost all day on Saturday, all Saturday afternoon into Sunday morning. So, you know, Saturday, plan your day light. Give yourself some time to kick back, relax, and enjoy. Sleep, work out, meditate, go to yoga. All great things to do when the moon is void, of course. You don't necessarily want to start anything new or plan any big events for when the moon is void, of course. So that is something to keep in mind. If you've got questions about Mercury retrograde or Uranus and Taurus, drop them in the comments here and I will get back to them tonight. And in addition to that, I do have a blog post I put up a while back with a Mercury retrograde survival guide. I will share that. And I'll share that in the comments below, on Facebook at least. And for you guys, you can go to my website and check it out. And then I wanted to share with you an essential oil blend for the week. And what I've got in my diffuser right now is vetiver. Vetiver is a really grounding oil. So really great for this week when we're feeling a little bit foggy, a little bit disconnected from our feet, perhaps. You know, Pisces actually rules the feet, which is really interesting. So the vetiver is going to help us keep the feet on the ground. Lavender, because lavender is actually the oil of communication, and I want you to use the lavender because it'll help create some patience around your communication, because lavender is relaxing, as we all know. It's considered a sleep oil for most of us. These two together are going to be really grounding and great for sleep time. In fact, you could use this blend for sleep time if you like. Bedtime, sleep time. Frankincense, which is the oil of truth, and Mercury retrograde always brings up the truth. So those three are what are what is in my diffuser right now. Also, the moon is in Aquarius today. Another friend wrote me today and said that she was feeling anxious. I often find that moon in Aquarius can make us feel a little bit anxious. So this is a great blend whenever you're feeling anxiety. Again, that is, you only need 1 drop of this vetiver in your diffuser. You can also make this in a little roller bottle and use it on your skin before sleep or when you're feeling anxious. About 3 drops of lavender, and you can do 2 or 3 drops of frankincense. Now, if all of that is a little too mellow for you and you want to charge it up, you can add a drop or 2 drops of elevation, which is our joyful blend. And it's a really, this is such a good one. It's a crowd pleaser. So I really like elevation with all of those oils and with all those oils together. So that's a great one. Also, if you're just feeling like all this mud is making you feel heavy, add elevation to that blend and it'll lift you up above it, okay? But remember, getting into the mud, getting into the muck, that is where all the nutrients are. That's where all of the foundation of your plant are going to be built, and we are building the foundation this year. This is all about building our foundation so that we can build even higher and rise even higher in 2020. I mean, I know it's crazy I'm talking about that, but that's the big picture. All right, so nice to be with you guys. As always, please feel free to leave your messages in the comments, and I will talk to you soon. Have a great week.